and then we'll go ahead and share so that you can see the new stuff that is coming our way. But first, before we get to the new stuff, we're going to talk about the old stuff. So welcome to Team WBC, our wealth building community, where we have a mantra, and it is progress through positivity. We're a community of like-minded individuals with an interest in building wealth. We're not financial advisors. All investing carries risk, so never invest more than you are willing to lose. This presentation is for entertainment, education, and information purposes. Again, we're not financial advisors. This is not a pyramid scheme, multi-level marketing, direct sales, or any type of scam. There are no auto ship requirements, no recruiting, and no dues. We do have a Telegram group, and membership is free. So you can download the app from your favorite app store and then use the Team WBC link to join our group. And I'll need to drop the link for Team WBC's Telegram group in the chat. So if I don't do it before the meeting ends, please feel free to remind me that I need to do that. Again, if you're new to our group, please drop your name in the chat. Tell us where you're from, who invited you, and if you have any experience trading Forex or crypto. And as a courtesy to others, please mute your microphone. So we'll get started by saying that America is facing some unprecedented challenges. Finances have long been a means to control the masses, and the banks have been the gatekeepers. The creation of the Federal Reserve Bank in 1913 was the beginning of a centralized system that now threatens to shake things up like never before. Worse than the Great Depression of 1929, worse than when the president took everyone's gold in 1933. Worse than when the president of the United States at the time, 1971, President Nixon unhooked the dollar from the gold standard. And then we had the housing crisis of 2008 and the bank bailout that came as a result of that. Now, if you've been in the group for the 2 years that we've been around, you'll remember that we used to talk about the 5 shocks. And here we are, we're facing another shock. All of those things that happened before pale in comparison to where we are right now. And that brings us to the Great Reset. So when you look at the money supply, we've seen a lot of money created, and we've also seen a diminishing of the value of that money as a result of all this extra money into the money supply and some other factors. So for instance, this graphic shows you that in 2018, when you had $100,000 in 4 years, it lost $18,000 in value. That's kind of an impetus for those of us who have this idea about saving money. And I'm reminded that the folks who have money, they don't save money, they invest it. What folks who don't have a whole lot of money do is they save money. But the issue with saving money is that you have inflation, and you also have the loss of the value of the money. It doesn't buy as much as it did before. So basically, your money is disappearing while you sit on it. And that's one of the primary reasons that it's so important for us to do the kinds of things that we're doing now. You juxtapose that against the price increases for things like gas and corn, and you can see that America's debt is out of control. And for that reason, America is broke. And despite the quick rescue of the banks, Signature Bank, Silicon Valley Bank, First Republic Bank, Silvergate, all of these things lead to a solution that's being engineered to drastically reform the banking system, and that's central bank digital currency. What's amazing to me is that I have conversations with a lot of people about CBDCs, and nobody seems to know very much about it. And I think one of the reasons for that is because we're not getting a lot of media coverage about central bank digital currency. But it's really important when we talk about CBDCs and the level of control that they, I guess, are seeking to have over the population of the planet, is this. One of the most influential people when it came to controlling resources and controlling money was this person, Meyer Amschel Rothschild. And he said, let me issue and control a nation's money, and I care not who writes the laws. And then later that was followed by Henry Kissinger, who said, who controls the food supply controls the people, who controls the energy can control whole continents, who controls money can control the world. So right now, there is a struggle for control of the world's money. When we look at the pecking order of things, we can look at this chart and see exactly who's running things. And at the very top of the chart, you see the Bank for International Settlements, who ultimately controls the money supply and the global markets, trade, and national economies. Below the Bank for International Settlements, you have the central banks, and they are going direct and directly funding government spending. So we can see that monetary policy has effectively become fiscal policy. Below the banks, you have these think tanks like the WEF, which is the World Economic Forum, the Council for Foreign Relations, the Club of Rome, Chatham House, Rockefellers. And then you have the policy distributors. So they're the ones who formulate these policies that get handed down to the enforcers, the national governments, and those selected scientific authorities. And then below that, you have the policy propagandists. So they're the ones who spread information, misinformation, disinformation, and I'll just go ahead and say that they spread lies. And then at the very bottom of the pecking order, you have the policy subjects, and that would be you and I. So let's take a look at this video. This is Crypto Casey, and she's going to talk to you about how the
This
Fed
is what's currently happening to the U.S. economy
is going to hijack crypto.
Financial system in a nutshell. Whoever is in control of the world is using the Federal Reserve to destroy the U.S. banking system by increasing interest rates faster and higher than we've been used to for decades now. The goal is to consolidate and centralize the U.S. banking system so that only a few banks like JP Morgan exist, which gives the Federal Reserve and their big bank cronies more power over us. Money is a system of control, and cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ether, and similar are currently completely out of their control. So whoever is in control of the world is also using the SEC and other regulatory agencies to try to bankrupt US-based cryptocurrency on and off ramps like Coinbase and crypto-friendly banks, so that the big banks left over after the fallout, like JP Morgan, acquire them. So with the destruction of the current banking system, a central bank digital currency will be distributed and enforced as the only legal means to transact in the United States. And the Fed, big banks, and whoever is in control of the world right now will get to decide who can buy and sell crypto, how much crypto we can buy and sell, when we can buy and sell, and ultimately, if we can buy or sell it at all. And if they are successful, we will essentially be enslaved. Because if we stop and think about it, we use our money in order to transport, like buying cars, gas, plane tickets, subway passes, etc. We use our money to do things we want, like watch a movie, play video games, access information like the internet, access media. We use money to buy tools to help us make more money, like computers, cameras, equipment. We use money to communicate with each other, like cell phones and cellular services. We use money to buy food, to eat, and feed our families, feed our pets, to stay alive. When whoever is in control of the world becomes completely in control of our money, they will completely control our lives. They will deduct all of our bills, fines, child support, alimony, parking tickets, taxes, interest, everything from our sources of income before it hits our accounts that will be linked directly to the Federal Reserve. They will dictate who gets access to capital, like loans and credit, how much and what it can be used for. They will dictate what we are allowed to buy to eat, how much we can buy of it. They will dictate if we are even allowed to buy food, period. A social credit system will be in place that will be used to dictate what we are able to do with our money. And if you've been watching the channel for a while now, we've been discussing this. And the news is finally catching up and validating everything. Economist Peter Schiff says the Fed destroyed the US banking system. It's insolvent. And the next wave of the crisis will be from commercial real estate, as this big commercial real estate downturn could sink plus bank. And on the heels of crypto, XRP lawyer says SEC will crush crypto until big banks can control the majority of the market. Deaton, who represented XRP holders in Ripple's lawsuit with SEC, says that once banking giants like JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs get their piece of the crypto pie, U.S. officials will conveniently draw up a regulatory framework for the industry. This is similar to what happened leading up to the U.S. getting off the gold standard, where the central banks stole all the gold and the U.S. government banned citizens from owning it. So they will try to completely control our access to crypto, our ability to convert our money into crypto, while stealing a bunch of Bitcoin and banning self-custody of it. Lame. So what's our only saving grace? Actually,
Well, she's going to give us a little bit of insight on the kinds of things that we can do to build wealth with cryptocurrency, and some of those things we're already doing, but we also need to know how to protect our assets. So let's hear the advice that she has.
what's interesting about blockchain tech and crypto is that the best way to build and deploy projects is by building and deploying code that just consistently runs, not owned by anyone or any entity, that is decentralized, transparent, and immutable, like Bitcoin. Because there's not a whole lot regulators can do to shut down something like Bitcoin. We don't know who created it. The network runs and is secured by a vast, varied network of computers around the world in different countries and using different types of energy. So in the end, the government is actually pushing us towards self-custody solutions that interact directly with blockchain without using third parties like centralized crypto exchanges, which is how it should be anyways. All trustless systems dictated by code with no human involvement. But it'll take a while to get there from a development and user interface perspective. Right now, self-custody and interacting with truly decentralized applications like 1inch requires some tech knowledge and practice for the average person, which is
So in essence, what needs to happen is that you need to become your own banker. It's really going to be important for us to know how to navigate this digital world that we're moving towards. And self-custody is one of the ways that that can happen. We also have mounting concern from Congress folk that CBDC should be illegal. So we can take a look at what Representative Emmer has done. He's introduced a bill to prohibit the Federal Reserve System from issuing a retail central bank digital currency. We also have another congressman, and that's Congressman Mooney, who introduced the Digital Dollar Prevention Act, and it would close the Federal Reserve Central Bank Digital Currency pilot program loophole. Specifically, the bill would prohibit the Federal Reserve from establishing, carrying out, or approving a program intended to test the practicability of issuing a CBDC. There are also concerns about the US dollar losing its status as the world reserve trading currency. So we've talked about Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and other nations. I think there's something like 22 other nations that want to form this bloc and move away from using the US dollar as the world reserve trading currency. And China also has worked out a deal where they are accepting, they're purchasing petroleum from the Saudis with the digital yuan. The Saudis are basically saying, we're not going to restrict countries from using US dollars to purchase petroleum. So this is expected to impact the US world reserve currency status significantly. Ran across this video today. It's one of our favorite commentators, Lena Petrova, and she's going to talk about the BRICS summit, which is going to take place in August of this year. So just next month, these nations are going to get together and they're going to have some conversation. I'm also going to share some information that comes from the president of Kenya. I think you'll find it quite interesting.
Hi, and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for being here with me. There is a major event that is taking place in less than 2 months. It is the BRICS Summit. Many of those who have been following the news related to the global shift towards a multipolar world know that this is going to be a turning point, because regardless of whose side you're on, this cannot and really should not be ignored. South Africa said that it will host the BRICS Bloc Summit from August the 22nd to August the 24th, 2023 in Johannesburg, as previously planned. There were rumors that it may be moved to China, and they may still decide to change the venue, to change the location, depending on what happens within the next couple of weeks. South Africa has signed the International Criminal Court agreement, and so it does have to act on it, but if it chooses not to, then it will face sanctions. So it will be really interesting to see who is in attendance and how South Africa maneuvers the situation. So what's next for the bloc? Are they going to roll out the new currency soon? The event that is about to take place in August is expected to be a milestone for the BRICS bloc. Among the items on the agenda is the creation of a new joint BRICS currency. We know that it will be backed by precious metals, by gold and other valuable assets. Then they will also discuss the bloc's future engagement with its bank, the New Development Bank, as well as a dialogue with its potential new members. We know that the list is getting longer and longer as more countries are expressing their desire to be part of it. The main idea behind the summit is to focus on supporting the development of African countries and those of the so-called Global South. This is expected to be done via the New Development Bank, effectively the BRICS Bank, which will make loans to these nations for a variety of infrastructure development projects. What's becoming increasingly clear is that African countries and others that are either already members of the bloc or are on the waiting list, so to speak, and there are close to 20 of them in total, they are pushing for a greater voice in the financial system that is originally developed by the West, especially in the IMF and the World Bank. One of my previous videos discusses these issues in detail and the disadvantages that these developing nations have been facing.
These nations are tired of being pimped. They're tired of being disrespected, and you're going to get a full ear of that from the Kenyan president in just a moment.
What South African President Ramaphosa had to say during the latest meeting in Paris. Watch.
You know, recently, 7 African countries decided to go and put a call for peace to Ukraine and to Russia. And we raised a number of issues. Was represented, Comoros was represented, Republic of Congo was represented, Senegal was represented, Uganda, as well as South Africa. So we were all represented, and Egypt as well. So we were all at one, that even as we were going to address an issue of the war, which has had a negative impact on the African continent, which is the rise in prices for food, rise in prices for fertilizers, we were clear that we are not going there as beggars. We're not going to ask for a favor to both Ukraine and Russia. We were going there to say, open up the Black Sea Channel.
That was Emmanuel Macron that you just saw there. And you're going to see him as he listens to comments by the Kenyan president in just a moment.
That the grains and the fertilizers should go into the world market. So we were not on a begging mission, even as we are in great need as a continent and all that. That should go to demonstrate that Africa should never be seen as a continent that needs generosity. We want to be treated as equals. Even in the multilateral institutions, we want to be treated as equals. And if our equity is at a low ebb, there must be ways in which that can be addressed. When it came to this issue.
And here's the president of Kenya effectively saying exactly the same thing, but just in a more straightforward manner.
We need a financial transaction tax at a global level where even countries like Kenya pay. We do not want anything for free. You will pay more eventually because you have a bigger economy. We will pay commensurate to our economy. And we want those resources controlled not by IMF and World Bank. Because IMF and World Bank, you have the final say. We don't have no say. We want another organization of equals where you have as much say because you pay as much as we do because we also pay. That's the organization we are looking for. And that is why we are saying we need a new financial architecture where governance, where power is not on the hands of a few people. We can agree on the governance of the institution. We can agree on the sharing of power so that all of us have access to resources that go to making sure, number one, renewable energy. We invest in decarbonization. Number two, adaptation, mitigation, smart agriculture. Number three, restoring our planet, restoring our biodiversity, and making sure our carbon sinks work. This is what we are saying, and we would appreciate a little understanding. We want to be, we are talking the normal. If we continue talking the normal, Emmanuel, we will never solve this problem. Things are not going forward, they're going backwards. Tokenism, installment will not solve this problem. We have a much bigger problem than the installment we are discussing here will solve. You're not hearing us.
So that's really the idea behind the
That was real clear. You're not hearing us. And I don't know if you noticed Macron's body language, but he was really trying to say, man, you need to shut up because we ain't trying to hear that, but they're going to have to hear it. So really interesting information there. And we're going to see how things play out. And again, they're planning on having that BRICS summit in South Africa next month. De-dollarization is a huge part of this BRICS alliance because basically they want to destroy the US dollar. And the BRICS aren't the only ones. It's also coming from Texas. So let's see what she has to say about what's happening in Texas.
Hello and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. In this video, I want to share really interesting news related to the development of new currencies. As you know, this is something that I've been following closely for a while. So several states here in the US have already made it clear that they oppose a CBDC, they oppose a central bank digital currency. Well, Texas just passed a bill to create 100% reserve gold and silver backed digital currency. There's no doubt that this sets a really interesting precedent and directly challenges the authority of the Federal Reserve. Before we move on, please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and make sure that you ring the bell to enable notifications. A Texas House committee passed a bill to create 100% reserve gold and silver backed transactional currency. This is truly significant because it will give businesses and consumers, ordinary people, an opportunity to make purchases and to conduct business in money that is not fiat. Of course, this is not something that the Federal Reserve will like because it will effectively challenge the central bank's fiscal authority. In Texas, this bill wasn't really a surprise because there have been two major initiatives previously, actually earlier this year, to create currency backed by precious metals. There's absolutely no denying the fact that this will become a really good alternative to the digital dollar, a CBDC that is fiat and not backed by anything. Texas is even planning to make gold and silver legal tender in the state. Of course, all of this comes as a direct response to the Federal Reserve's effectively developing its own CBDC. With so many people becoming increasingly aware of how digital currencies work, it is safe to say that they would like to have an option, at least to have an option to use precious metals. And so Texas recognizes that. Silver and gold coins hold their value. If an alternative legal tender is adopted by Texas, the Federal Reserve currency, the Federal Reserve notes, would effectively lose its value. The bill was just passed in Texas House Committee and is now going to be voted on by the House of Representatives. This new legislation calls for the issuance of gold and silver specie, as well as the adoption of digital currencies that are 100% backed by gold and silver. And this is important, 100% redeemable in cash, gold, or silver.
So what you see is a parallel between what the BRICS are doing and what they're proposing to do in Texas, and that is back currency with a commodity, i.e. gold, i.e. silver. Same thing that the BRICS want to do. and that would result in a destabilization of the US dollar. So what's the forecast for the implementation of CBDCs? Well, Michael Saylor had some pretty strong opinions about that. So let's hear what he has to say. He was speaking with Michelle McCrory, and this was actually a two-part
Bitcoin News special coverage of Bitcoin 2023 is brought to you by Coin Payments. Crypto payments made easy.
Complete government oversight. I think that in the political world, there's a lot of resistance to the CBDC. I don't think that we'll find a majority of politicians in either the Democratic or the Republican Party that will support a complete CBDC. So I think that it's a non-starter on Capitol Hill. I think the Republicans would block it, but I think the Democrats would block it too. And I think ultimately the banking establishment won't want it either, because a CBDC would be an example of disintermediating all the banks, starting with the big banks down to all the banks, and then what is their business? So I think that that there will be alarmists that will say, "Oh, the CBDC is coming, get ready." I think that will sell a lot of Bitcoin. I think a lot of people will go and they will buy Bitcoin, and you'll get a lot of campaign donations, right? But I think ultimately the political settlement will be digital currency will come not in the form of a stable coin. I think that they will eventually wind down because that's too much freedom. And the regulators are winding them down, like the Wells notice to BUSD, like the Custodia denial letter, like the move by the Canadian regulators to prevent you from trading stable coins on crypto exchange in Canada, like the denial of Tether in the US. So I think the regulators will move to clamp down on any non-KYC digital dollars. I think that no one is putting forth any CBDC legislation right now that I can see. There's no credibility there, a consensus. I think we're probably headed toward less digital currency. Like right now, there's $140 billion. At the peak, there were probably $160 billion of digital currency trading between Tether and Circle and other coins and UST. And I think we've already peaked, and I think we're going toward less of that.
So again, when he talked about legislation, he was talking about pro-CBDC legislation, but basically what we have seen has been anti-CBDC legislation. So with these plans, you're seeing banks folding, and the prognostication is that there's going to be considerable consolidation, and you're going to see the elimination of a number of regional banks. And the reason that this is an issue is because some see it as a move towards communism, because one of the tenets of communism is a central bank. That's something that we would get from Mark Moss, but I'm going to share something else with you from Mark Moss. And this is him explaining why there are certain things that are happening to operate as distractions. I found this quite interesting. So let's see what Mark has to say about why we are hearing about the Titanic and a submarine that went down when there were other things that were going on that we really needed to be paying
Titanic
attention.
distraction because the global elites are afraid. Now, while the news headlines were dominated by the Titanic submarine, you might have missed what was really going on in the world. Of course, that's by design. Just like we think about what they want us to think about. It's whatever the current thing is, right? Do you remember the meme? I support the current theme. So whatever is the current thing, they make it super interesting. So we want to talk about it. Will they have enough air? Will they find him in time? Can you believe who they are? This kid didn't go on it. Do you know who these parents are? It's like all of these data points to keep us talking about whatever the media wants us to talk about. That's what we talk about. And it's never what we should be talking about. And they do that to keep us distracted. What do we miss? What was going on in the news cycle that we should have been paying attention to that we weren't? While we were watching the Titanic, will they live? Will they die? I'm chewing my fingernails. I'm eating popcorn, whatever. The Navy knew all along that it was already gone. They knew since Sunday that it was already over. But of course, they don't let those pesky details. They wanted to keep us distracted, and distracted from what? Well, did you know JP Morgan and the Jeffrey Epstein emails were released? You probably didn't know that. What you maybe didn't know is that the JP Morgan deleted about 47 million emails, mistakenly, of course, mistakenly deleted emails. And in those emails were subpoenas to provide information, files that regulators were actively trying to find in regards to multiple investigations and probes that they were doing. I didn't know that. Did you know that Joe Biden was impeached? There was a vote to impeach him, I should say, in the House. Now, when Donald Trump had votes to impeach him, that was 24/7 in the news cycle. Now this is happening to Joe Biden, but you probably didn't know about that. Maybe you didn't know that the Pentagon fat fingered and sent almost $6.5 billion missing to Ukraine. And that money, that $6.5 billion that went to Ukraine, was reported as missing and somehow just coincided with an attempted coup in Russia. Did you know that Hunter Biden just got a slap on the wrist while FBI whistleblowers are going missing? Did you know that the John Durham report in the congressional hearing came out about the Russia hoax and showed that it was all made up, it's all paid for by the Clinton administration, which of course you probably knew that. Did you know that the USDA approved the sale of lab-grown meat from 2 companies, of course, backed by Bill Gates? Now, you probably didn't know any of that because you were all distracted by the Titan. Now, while they're telling us the greatest threat to our democracy is misinformation, who's the one spreading the misinformation? Everything we were told about the pandemic and the vaccine and the laptop, all of those things they knew in advance were a lie. You remember before the election, I think it was the New York Post posted on Twitter about the Hunter Biden laptop, which I couldn't even talk about on YouTube at the time. Now I can. And of course, those accounts were deleted. Anyone who retweeted them, they were deleted. There was a full censorship about that. Then the Biden campaign at the time, I think, or administration put out a letter. I think it was signed by like 55 intelligence professionals saying that it was all fake. Like 55 people had signed on to this. Fact check me on the numbers. It's something like that. Signed onto this letter saying that it was all fake. But in 2019, they already knew it was real. So who's the one that put out the misinformation? Now, you might have heard of it called other things in the past, like propaganda, or maybe a redirection. We're the ones doing it, so we're going to say it was you. Whatever you want to call it. Only way to pull this off is with total control and censorship of any dissenting views. Now, you know anything.
And just to add to the other things that we were distracted by, I know a lot of people have been talking about Keke Palmer and whoever her man friend is, and him getting upset because she was serenaded by Usher, and she had some dress on that he didn't appreciate. So these are the kinds of things that we focus on, but then you listen to all the things that he just mentioned, and they are major things for us to be concerned about, but we're not paying attention. And while we're not paying attention, they're making all the moves that they're making to establish and to create control over us. So I just want to get back to the whole issue of the banks, and that is that small businesses rely on those regional banks for capital, and the loss of those banks mean that many of those small businesses won't survive. And not only will they not survive, but the jobs that they provide will not survive either. So you're going to see a lot of unemployment, and with the unemployment comes recession. We're already in recession, but they're not calling it recession yet. And then when you look around the world, you'll see that in Europe, they're experiencing recession as well, but they're being disingenuous about that, and they're not calling it a recession. But reality is that there is global recession. So now is the time to prepare for what is to come and what's already happening. And one of the things is Bitcoin. Now, in our meeting last week, we talked about BlackRock and them applying for a spot ETF for Bitcoin. It's going to be a major development. I'm not going to rehash that today, but just know that there's major interest in Bitcoin, and Bitcoin has been classified as a commodity and not a security. So it is outside of the reach of the Securities and Exchange Commission. I'm not going to run this video about the BlackRock ETF. I think we've said enough about that tonight, but what I will say is that what we can start doing now is acquiring assets that can serve as a store of value and Bitcoin is definitely one of those. It has been the top performing asset worldwide. It's definitely outperforming the dollar. And then when it comes to cryptocurrencies, it's the top dog. 50 to 60% of the global crypto markets are Bitcoin. Precious metals are also a key commodity for your portfolio. Gold and silver are poised to see significant gains in the near future. And you can buy gold as coins, numismatic and semi-numismatic. You can buy fractional gold coins as well as gold and silver by the gram. So you may recall in past meetings, I've shown you gold coins on a website called Miles Franklin, where you could see a tenth of an ounce of a gold coin or a half ounce gold coin. So you can get them in smaller increments than an entire ounce. And again, you can buy them as grams. You can go through a company called Valcambi and get gold and silver by the gram. You can also get gold backs. You can also use apps like UPMA and GlintPay, and you can purchase precious metals, have them stored, and acquire a debit card to spend against the value of the precious metal in your account. This is a video that gives you some information about UPMA. Let's check this out.
Most of us have never known a time when there wasn't any inflation. We're completely conditioned to accept that the same asset, whether it be a house, car, or food, will inevitably cost more in the future than it does today. But why is that? Inflation is created by governments that spend more than they take in. Instead of raising taxes to cover the shortfall, which would be very unpopular, they simply print more money. Now, since the buying power of our money is based on how much there is in circulation, increasing the money supply dilutes its buying power, thus causing a steady rise in prices. And because our wages aren't necessarily increasing at the same rate as inflation, and because this rate isn't accounted for with any of our profits on investments, we end up paying a hidden inflation tax. But is this reality inescapable? Isn't there some way to secure our wealth from this hidden tax, this ever-creeping reduction in purchasing power? Fortunately, the answer is yes. While our currency has lost more than 96% of its purchasing power since the creation of the Federal Reserve in 1913, gold and silver have retained most, if not all, of their buying power. What this means in practical terms is that the same amount of silver or gold required to buy a car or house in 1950 would still buy an equivalent car or house today. That's great, but how does that help me? Is there some way that I can use gold and silver to pay for things? Again, the answer is yes. In 2011, the state of Utah passed the Utah Legal Tender Act. This made Utah the first state in the U.S. to return gold and silver back to their proper status as money. In response to this landmark legislation, and to help people take advantage of the benefits of real money, the United Precious Metals Association, or UPMA, was born. UPMA makes it easy to use gold and silver as real money to pay for real things every day. Right now, you can buy food, pay your mortgage, shop online, and even pay your taxes using real money, gold and silver. For more information, visit upma.org. United Precious Metals Association.
So that's UPMA. We also have GlintPay, and in the past I have shown you a smidgen of this video that features the owner of the company. So we're just going to check out a small portion of this, and then I have something more to share with you.
And let this out. It's very difficult to put it back in. And the one thing that people can do, of course, I think, is start making sure that they are also, whilst they still are integrated with and using the existing financial system, they find ways to also work outside that. And obviously, there's the cryptocurrency movement for people. And I think that's a good way to look. It's definitely start to look at that if you haven't done already. But also, there's Glint. You know, what is Glint offering? We're offering the ability to put people on their own personal gold standard. So with the Glint app and with the Glint MasterCard, you can buy gold, save it, send it to other people outside of the US, that is spend it anywhere in the world where MasterCard's accepted, which is, effectively putting you on your own personal gold standard. And we know already that gold over time, although the value of gold fluctuates as confidence in fiat currencies goes up and down, we know that over the long term, gold is beating inflation. We know that it's it's outside of the banking system. So your gold's in a vault insured by Lloyd's of London. So it's also protected against systemic risk. And hopefully giving you a hedge against the developments in the economy, which we're seeing, and hopefully as well some of these kind of dangers that I see with CBDCs.
Yeah. So that idea of using it as a hedge is one that was implemented by Warren Buffett a few years ago when he bought $530 million worth of gold and $1.2 billion worth of silver. He knew something back then, and I'm sure he's probably rubbing his hands together now. We've talked about One Gold in the past. We also have another banking alternative, and that is the Transact card. I'm really excited about this one. It does involve sharing if you choose to share, but it also is a type of thing that you can get a card and you can start making purchases, and then you can start getting cash back or money back on your purchases.
Hey guys, what's going on? Jamie here. Wanted to do a video on Transact card. Now that we've been in it for about a week, wanted to happen with me. I want to get my little piece of it because, again, to me, it's a no-brainer, right? So Transact card, it says here, a positive social impact approach to banking. We are a banking platform that provides services for everyone. It's a private, secure banking platform. Guys, check this out. It's FDIC insured. And it's a Visa bank card, guys, okay? You're not getting, some rinky-dink bank card. This is a, it's a huge name in the finance world, Visa. So anywhere Visa is accepted, any, restaurant, anywhere, ATM, anywhere that Visa is accepted, you can use your Transact card, okay? It says here, you double your buying power with a members-only marketplace. Every dollar you spend with your Transact card, you earn 1 Z-Buck. By the way, these Z-Bucks never expire. So you can accumulate these Z-Bucks. Imagine going out and accumulating Z-Bucks throughout the course of the year. And then during the holidays, you can cash out on your Z-Bucks. I mean, just so many ways you can utilize this tool. Pretty awesome. It says here, every product and service are much more affordable using your Z-Bucks. So let's explain to you how this works. So it says here, Z-Bucks, every time you spend $1, right? Using your Transact card anywhere, you earn a matching Z-Buck. It says here, imagine swiping your card at the gas station. Well, imagine spending $70 filling up your tank. Yes, it costs that much. You just earned 70 Z-Bucks on the fuel purchase. Mind you, the fuel purchase you were going to do anyway, right? I mean, you're going to get gas anyway, right? You're gonna do that regardless of whether or not you're in this program or not, or whether or not you have a Transact card or not. You're going to swipe your card for gas. You might as well get Z-Bucks, right? For something you're going to do regardless. So it says your Z-Bucks can be spent in Z Club, making everyday items, luxury items, even vacation packages more affordable. Essentially, Z Club is like their marketplace, okay? So here's just a couple of examples of how you can utilize this. Let's say you go to the Z Club. And by the way, the Z Club is going to officially launch when the company launches in November. They do have some items already. They're adding items as we speak. During the pre-launch, they want people to go in there, make purchases, because it's in the beta phase right now and they want to work out all the kinks. It's going to be fully loaded and ready to go in November. But like I said, you can go in there right now, spend your Z-Bucks. But let's say you find a pair of shoes and it's $100. Well, let's say you have 50 Z-Bucks in your account, but you've earned 50 Z-Bucks. Well, instead of paying $100, you can leverage those Z-Bucks to cut the cost in half, and now you only have to pay the difference of $50. So again, you're spending less because you've accumulated these Z-Bucks, right? How about a camper trailer? This is a pretty big purchase, right? It's $75,000 for a camper trailer. Let's say throughout the course of time, you've accumulated 25,000 Z-Bucks in your account. Well, you only pay the difference of 50,000, right? That's a $25,000 off because you've leveraged your 25,000 Z-Bucks, okay? What about everyday items? diapers, right? Let's say it's $53 for these diapers. You've earned 32 Z-Bucks. Well, you just pay the difference of $21. So again, these are just some examples of how you can utilize your Z-Bucks to cut the cost of things that you see in the marketplace. And again, they're going to have everything in the Z Club, from diapers to handbags to clothes to travel packages to cruises, everything. And you can use your Z-Bucks to cut the cost of everything in the marketplace in their Z Club. Here are just some of the brands that are coming to the Z Club. Again, you might have heard of some of these brands: Nature Made, Johnson & Johnson, GNC, Carnival Cruise, Rolex, Adidas, Ralph Lauren, Nike, Gucci, Tommy Hilfiger, Columbia, GoPro, Ray-Ban, Black & Decker. These are big brands, guys, okay? So again, these are some of the things you'll be able to, some of the brands you'll be able to purchase from the Z Club once we officially launch in November. Okay. So again, from what I've been told, they already have contracts with each one of the brands, that are going to be included in the Z Club. So this is something that they're already doing right now. They have something called flash sales. It says here, first come, first serve. Flash sales frequently pop up in the Z Club, so check in often and don't miss a thing. Again, the way this works is you can purchase these flash sales, or when these flash sales come up, you can purchase goods using only Z-Bucks. Okay, you can't even use dollars. So for example, this Louis Vuitton bag, right, $2,370. If you have 2,370 Z-Bucks in your account and you're able to catch this flash sale because it's first come, first serve, you can get this bag for yourself, right? What about laptops? 1,100 Z-Bucks, Ray-Bans, sunglasses, right? $120. So again, as these flash sales pop up, you can utilize your Z-Bucks to purchase and take advantage of these flash sales. Okay. What about trips, right? Travel. Here's a 7-day, 6-night exclusive resort stay or cruise stay, right? You'll be able to use your Z-Bucks to purchase these vacations, these cruises. You can swipe your way to your next vacation. How cool is that, right? Set up a long-term savings for your future. We'll talk about that more as we get closer to that service being launched. But again, it's a no-brainer, right? What is the cost of the membership? To be a member, it's $25 for your first year. Okay, $25 for your first year. Again, you'll be able to get the card. And here's what's cool about it. When you make your first transaction, it could be for 50 cents. You get 500 Z-Bucks awarded to you for your first transaction. So right there, 500 Z-Bucks, boom, right into your account when you make your first swipe.
Now, this is all basically about the retail side of it, but there is also an affiliate aspect to this that includes something they call a DBO, which is a digital branch office, and it comes with similar perks. They had a program that just ended on July 4th. Unfortunately, we missed out on the benefits that would bring. And we'll bring more to you about the DBO aspect of it. But again, it does require that you share this opportunity with others. And then after you share it with 3 people, then you become a branch manager, and there are perks that go along with this. Basically, what happens is when you have this DBO and you have customers, that is people who have purchased this card through you, every time they use their card, there's a transaction fee that you benefit from. So the more customers that are in your, I guess, chain, so to speak, the more you're able to profit on a monthly basis. It costs about $500 to start a DBO, but once you sign up 3 other DBOs, then the $150 a month that you would have to pay for that quote unquote franchise, you don't have to pay. So again, there are a lot of things to be excited about this. And I think, I'm not sure, Wayne, we may have talked about this a few weeks ago, but there may be a connection between UPMA and the Transact card. There was something that we discussed, and I'm gonna have to go back to that conversation and figure out what it was. But I remember when we talked about it, you saw it as a plus for this Transact card. So I'm going to suspend the presentation here, but just wanted to share some of this video with you. And I think sometime in the future, we'll have a workshop, a training workshop where we can go more in depth in terms of what this program provides, as well as what Union View involves, because again, I started my my Union View account last week, and thankfully it has proven itself. Although I haven't taken any withdrawals, I do see how it works. It was relatively simple. I mean, I got into the program without much in terms of complications, and once I got in, and I thank the folks who signed up, because I've had a few folks who have used my link to sign up. So there's definitely progress. There's definitely momentum. There's definitely a reason to be excited. One of the things that I like about the program is that there's diversification of the assets that they're dealing with to generate profits. So it seems to be a very secure operation, and we'll continue to monitor it, but I'm very happy to share that with you. And I'm sure Wayne will probably have some things to add about Union View. I know last week he dropped like 13 reasons that Union View is a good go. So I'm going to go ahead and welcome Brother Wayne to the meeting. I know he's been waiting patiently. I'm done. It's your turn now, Brother Wayne. The floor is yours.
How you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been an interesting day, a good day. The last few days, after I guess when we hit that 777 portal, that just opened up a whole floodgate, of possibilities. And one of the things I wanted to ask before I get going is, I sent out a video by Andy Scheckman. And I sent it to everyone who I thought, or who I could remember, had made silver investments, because the content that Andy, was focused upon was silver, and where silver was going to be by the end of August. And at that point, he was talking about silver being $600 an ounce. And then you have other individuals on the more extreme flavor, of what's going to happen with silver, bringing silver in around $1,200 an ounce. But looking at all the various silver pundits and analysts in the market, they all seem to kind of hover around the price range between $500 and $600 an ounce. And they seem incredibly assured that this is something we can look forward to seeing come the end of August. So I sent out this video to everyone who I felt or remembered who was invested in silver, so that you could see, based on Andy's breakdown, why silver is going to move into this spot of $600 an ounce. And I say that because if you haven't made the investment, you really, really want to become proactive and do that. We talk a lot about the CBDCs. We talk a lot about the pushbacks, the drawbacks, the political resistance. But just going over just a lot of the information holistically, I think the CBDCs are probably the least of our worries. And the greatest thing that I believe we have to prepare for, and this is something that Andy Schechtman has also been talking about for quite some time, but we have to prepare for hyperinflation. And when we look at what's transpiring with the BRICS, in 12 days, they release their currency in 12 days, a gold-backed currency that they are looking to have it represent their forays into the global financial market. And we have to really take into consideration what it means when you have most of the countries that are players in the game removing themselves from the dollar, initiating de-dollarization, and moving into the BRICS as a secured measure, of financial stability and operation. When that happens more and more, we have to take into consideration those countries now have another opportunity in terms of money, financial stability, currency direction, and it is not the dollar. Once they cease to utilize the dollar, all of those dollars will be put on the market for sale. All of those dollars will come back to the shores of the US. We're talking about trillions of dollars impacting the United States economy. And that is going to be a devastating blow to the future of American finance. I want to play Bill Holter. I listen to him. I like him. He's got really great perspective, and he breaks this down nicely.
Or trade deals in dollars, once there's an alternative for them that they can use yuan or rubles or their own currency, all these dollars that they hold, what are they going to do with them? They're going to sell them. And who's going to buy them? The Federal Reserve is going to be the buyer of last resort for dollars. And let me add that if you're a student of history, read about the fall of the Roman Empire. It's very similar to what the U.S. is and has been doing.
Okay, stop.
Rome overexpanded. They were on a war footing. They started clipping their coins. And it's the same thing as what we're doing now is we're monetizing. So it's at this point, all it is an empty shell. And I don't know what the event's going to be to illustrate that inside the shell is empty, but it's going to be something. And that's why I say the world, our world, as an American, our world is going to change drastically. You're used to being able to go to the grocery store 3-4 times a week, stop by on your way home, pick something up or whatever. I think the supply chains, production, distribution, everything is going to be shaken up. So your life is going to completely change. And your life is definitely going to change when there's a financial event and banks collapsing. Think about it. It was just 3 or 4 months ago that the US Treasury came out and they said, we're going to guarantee every bank deposit in the country. My first question was, who's going to guarantee the Treasury? Because it's not like the Treasury's got all this money sitting in a vault that they're going to pass out. The Treasury has to actually borrow money. And if there's no lenders, who's the lender of last resort? The Federal Reserve. And they will also be the buyer of last resort when these dollars come home to our shores. They will be the only big buyer left. If you saved in something that's worth nothing, that the true value of it is zero, and even though your bank statement said,
if you've saved in something that is worth nothing, the true value of that asset or commodity is zero. Listen to that.
as you've got $1 million or 5 million or whatever amount of money in your accounts, your brokers, your insurance companies, and the dollar spends today, that doesn't talk about what the dollar will be worth tomorrow. It doesn't talk about what the dollar will be worth when there basically is the world gangs up on the United States, and that's where we're headed. You're going to wake up one morning, you worked your whole life, you did all the things you were told to do, you were prudent, you didn't take a whole bunch of debt, but when this event happens, you're going to wake up and you're going to be destitute. You're going to have whatever you have, and that's all you're going to have. And what happens if it costs $1,000 for a cup of coffee, and $5,000 for an actual meal, and $10,000 for a fine dining meal? And your electric bill now is, instead of $200 a month, it's $2,000 a month, or not $2,000, $20,000 a month. That's where we're headed. We are headed toward a debt implosion and hyperinflation at the same time. And this is what I talked about years and years ago and was laughed at when I talked about, I think we will have deflation and inflation at the same time. Inflation of the things you need to survive, and deflation of the things that you already own.
So this always takes us back to precious metals, or at least it takes me back to precious metals. And I just wonder how many of you all really see the game, because right now, I'd say the lion's share of those who are investors, savvy, smart investors, they're looking at the game. And even those who may not even see holistically the game, they know that something is amiss to the extent that they need to become proactive in investing in silver and investing in gold. Now, silver, they call the poor man's gold, but silver traditionally, historically, always overtakes gold and becomes way more valuable. So when you look at silver and the price that it can possibly get to, because you have to remember, silver is an industrial metal as well as a currency. So when you look at the amount of silver that is available to us, it's a scary situation, because the US Geological Society completely, this is what they say, that silver will be completely depleted by 2036. They say that Mexico and Peru, two of the largest distributors, mining operations of silver, will be out of silver by 2030. 2030. Now I ask you, what do you think the price of silver is going to become when it gets out that silver is moving on the fast track towards extinction? What do you think the price will be? I think that you won't be able to put a price on it. That's what I think. And you have people like Buffett who purchased 1.2 billion ounces of silver, along with the $530 million worth of gold. But nobody talks about the stocks that he let go of to make room for those purchases. Banking stocks and airline stocks. Because the person who's putting the bug in his ear is telling him banks are done, airlines are next. So when you look at companies like BlackRock and JP Morgan, see what they have to say.
If we look at JP Morgan itself has secretly been stacking silver and is currently holding 50% of the physical silver depository in COMEX. What is COMEX? COMEX is the largest exchange in the world that is based in US that trades metal products. Only 6 to 7% of JP Morgan's physical silver is registered to be delivered to clients who bought JP Morgan's silver. The remainder 93 to 94% of its physical silver is not available for sale. The interesting question here is, why is JP Morgan holding so much silver? Now, we take a look at BlackRock. In the first quarter of 2023, BlackRock became the largest institutional holder of Sprott Physical Silver Trust. BlackRock's investment into allocated physical silver is interesting and is 3 times larger than the second largest institutional holder in precious metal.
So we have BlackRock that's moving into a variety of different marketing fields, asset fields. We have BlackRock as being a dominant percentage owner of Coinbase. So they're definitely looking into crypto. Now, all of these things tell a story and they give insight into what's really going on based on what the mega corporations are doing and the direction that they're carving out for their future, immediate future and long-lived future. So when we look at BlackRock and what they're doing with Coinbase, They wouldn't be doing that with Coinbase if they did not feel there was going to be a substantial future for cryptocurrency. They would not be purchasing the amount of silver that they're hoarding if they did not know that there was going to be an immense demand for silver in the immediate here and now, as well as the future. So these are all things that are signs that we need to look at because it's the writing on the wall. Now, this just breaks it down and lets you know, like, their game is tight. And what's going to happen and how all of this is really going to eventually unfold, it remains to be seen. Because yes, on some areas, you have an immense amount of pushback and resistance. In other areas, you have individuals that are embracing this overall concept that's being created, this formula that's being espoused by the WEF, the World Economic Forum. And you have a lot of puppets that are buying into their agenda. So that's one of the things that we really have to stay abreast of.
In America are working together to move forward a universal basic income from the East Coast to the West Coast, from the North to the South, and everywhere in between. Will be ushering in a universal basic income.
Come up with an idea for a guaranteed annual wage. There's going to be so many middle-class jobs displaced. That's the only thing that can be done.
Now, this isn't something that might happen. It's already happening. I'm going to break down the locations, show you the locations, show you where it's happening, show you how it's going to get funded, and show you what you should be doing to plan in advance, because America as a whole is changing. It's already changed a lot. If you look at what's happened just over the last 3 years, think about it. With eviction moratoriums, forbearances, mortgage forbearances, student loans are still on pause. Even utility bills were optional. They wanted you to stay home and they wanted to send you money. Think about the 4-day work week. It's a push for change, structural change in America. And it's happening. It's happening right before our eyes. And it's up to us to see clearly so we can plan in advance. And that's what I'm going to help you do in this video. Please hit that like button. When you hit the like button, YouTube's going to share this content to educate more people about what's actually happening in America. So please hit that like button. Every time you hit it, YouTube will share it with one other person. Today's video also is sponsored by my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If your credit needs help, we would love to give you a free strategy session to see how we can help you. Think about what happens in great pullbacks economically is funding tightens up. If you have bad credit, the odds of getting funding, being able to invest are going to be a lot harder. So if you want to invest in the greatest wealth transfer of all time, we'd love to help you get there at GreatCreditFast.com. Now take a look at this. Now this is March 15, 2021. He puts a plan in this Biden stimulus plan contains an experiment for universal basic income, right? Biden's opens backdoor universal basic income. This is June. September, Biden has helped the quiet revolution of giving people money. About 90% of Americans were eligible to receive payments. The Americans Families Plan, it's all pushing into this. But look at this. Mayors for Guaranteed Income is a coalition of 50+ mayors who will explore cash payment programs in their cities and advocate for guaranteed income programs. Guaranteed income programs. UBI trial begins. We say fight for socialism. Fight for socialism, right? What does this really mean? What does this mean? When you stay home, when you get direct deposits, it might feel good in the beginning. Like many people might be like, yeah, this is awesome. But nothing remains that way. When you have to rely on someone else for food, for money, for payments, that person has a really big grip over your life and an immense level of power over yourself and your family. And as people start to get more comfortable and accustomed to this, I believe a lot more is going to be handed over than just some type of peace of mind. Like you're going to be handing over a lot of freedom, a lot of independence to that party that's issuing that universal basic income. But not everybody agrees. I mean, a lot of people disagree with me. Like Mark Zuckerberg, he disagrees. He thinks that universal basic income is going to be required and it's going to be needed. And I do think it's going to be likely needed, but it's not just going to be a perfect fairy tale type of story that they're selling. Elon Musk, you got Bill, you got Branson, all saying that it's going to be required in 2018, July 11th, 2018, they said that. But you start to think about automation, you start to think about what's actually going to happen. A lot of jobs are going to get displaced. More and more and more need and demand is going to be pushed forward for universal basic income. If they don't.
So what we're looking at is a very strategically designed plan. Like I have friends who live out, in the outer reaches of the city, deep suburbia and such. And they feel, when I talk to them about these types of things that are transpiring, they go, well, I'm glad I don't live in the city. But see, the whole plan, in terms of how it's going to be optimized, is to get everyone into the city. And the way they're going to do that is with this concept of universal income. Because once we flow into the CBDC, or whatever this example of so-called universal income is going, and how it's going to be represented, it's going to be government backed, and you are going to be compliant to whatever the government is issuing you, so that you can survive and maintain from day to day. So right now, we have the whole concept of universal income being implemented, the social credit scores being implemented. You have 50 mayors across the country in every state ready to launch these programs. So you have to stop and think about the future, and I mean the immediate future, because they want to have all of this set up by 2030. That's their date of initiation, 2030. So for me, it's like you have to stop and make a decision as to what it is you want to do. Like this guy here, I'm not saying don't buy into universal income, don't buy into CBDCs. If that's where you want to go, then that's your prerogative. But just know that you have been profoundly informed about it, so that you make a really conscious decision, about why you're going there and how you're going to get there and how you're going to navigate that reality once you are there. So for me, if you're not going to invest in metals, then you are automatically saying, automatic, because the hourglass is pretty much out of sand. So if you haven't made, a decisive move by now in terms of your investment into silver, and that can look like a variety of different things, the rollovers of your IRAs, your 401s, whatever your retirement, account may look like. If you haven't taken the initiative to do something with that, and you're still holding dollars, then you've made your choice. And your choice is that you're going to wait until all of your money has been completely and totally eradicated and then replaced by CBDCs, and that's going to be the environment that you're going to live in, operate in, function in. You know, you've made that decision. You've made that choice. But you've done so based on information that gave you a weighted, perception of which way to go and what lies on the right, what lies on the left. And you've made that decision with a degree of awareness and consciousness, being astute to knowing that this is the place you want to land. So I think probably most of you have not looked into UPMA. You haven't set up accounts with UPMA. So you're just in a holding pattern, waiting for the worst to happen. And you won't have to wait for long because it's coming and it's right around the corner. And I know you think and feel that it's not going to happen. And I don't even know if I have this right here in front of me. Let me see if I have it. I had it here a minute ago, but I don't have it now. But basically, it's the concept that we've talked about with respect to the normalcy bias. I mean, basically that's what we've talked about, and the normalcy bias is basically a concept that states that it's a psychological profiling that states that 70% of the people in the world in face of a disaster will not react, create opportunities to shield themselves, secure themselves against that disaster, because they will not believe that that disaster is forthcoming. 70%. So most people just kind of sit on the periphery, waiting until the sky falls, and at that point, they want to make a move. But you know what? It's not going to work this time. I don't think it ever works, really, but it's definitely not going to work this time, because once silver jumps to $500, $600 an ounce, you will not be able to afford it. And that's the bottom line. And that's what they want. They want to keep all of those who are on the periphery, all of those who believe in the normalcy bias, thinking that none of this is really going to materialize. None of this is going to manifest. And that it's all smoke and mirrors. So I guess we'll see. Those of you that have not made, any shifts, changes, have become proactive in trying to secure yourselves in the immediate and the long term, I guess we'll see. We'll play it, by ear. I do want to go into this. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I tried to get this brother on tonight And this is a program, very new program, that this brother out of Canada has created. And it's called Verse, the Verse Network. And just want to listen to a few things that he has to say about it.
And welcome to this video. Today, I want to present you a brand new project that was just released a few days ago, and it's called Verse Network. The pre-launch of Verse Network started, and now it's possible to register, buy the products, and refer it to other people. We will talk today about the owners and the background of Verse Network, what they offer as a product, what can you do here, how can you participate, and we will, in the end, also talk a little bit about the marketing plan, which is really exciting because I have never seen such a good network marketing plan in my 10-year network career. But first, of course, the disclaimer. Please pause the video here and read this disclaimer. Verse Network is a brand of Verse Corp, which is a company specializing in financial education and automated trading. Verse Corp is registered company. The founder and CEO of Verse Network is my good friend Breeze Vandenbush. Me and Breeze, we have a long history. I know Breeze for about 8 years, and we did a lot of projects in the past together. He's already over 15 years in network marketing, and of these 15 years, 8 years we worked closely together in many projects. Lastly, I found a photo on my Facebook from the year 2016 where me and Breeze worked together for lunch. So Breeze is basically the manager, the organizer of Verse Network, who's responsible for everything. In the past years, Breeze had a lot to do with trading, especially Forex trading. In the past years, we often exchanged strategies, many traders. He sent me something, hey, can you take a look at this? And I sent him also trading strategies, and we discussed about that. So I know for sure that he has a lot of experience in the Forex trading market, but he himself is not a trader. For that part, he incorporated with some professional traders from different countries. So these three guys here will be the first traders who publicly work for Verse Network. The first guy here is Stefan Burkhardt from Germany. He works over 20 years in the Forex industries and was working for many different brokers and companies worldwide and also in Germany. Here you can see the past performance of one of the accounts from Stefan Burkhardt. This is on the GB broker, which is one of the best brokers in Europe. And we see he has a low drawdown of 11%, make monthly around 6%. And here we have a trading history of about 1 year, from 2022 until 2023. The next trader who's working for Verse Network is Mark Owen from UK. He is also in the trading market since 2010 and have some impressive results and past performance to show. Here we see a gigantic past performance from Mark. He made over 17,000% in the last years with a drawdown of 18% and average income of 6.8% per month. And this history is from 2017. It's insane. It's a very long performance over years. If we check some details, we have an insane profit factor of 3.34. And look at that, a past performance from starting basically in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022. Of course, here's a minus month. It's a part of trading. And 2023. I mean, I'm long in trading and I didn't see such a long past performance before. And the third trader is Shidik Mood from Singapore. He's also a professional trader with over 12 years of experience in trading. In the past, he was also working for brokers and institutions in Asia. Here we see a past performance from Shidik, also over several years. This was for a company that he worked for the last years, and he made 924% profit for them with a very low drawdown, around 10%. We can check the years. So he started in the year 2019.
So I just wanted to give you an idea that this is another company that I'm looking at. It looks really good. I wanted to give you a little bit of insight and just in terms of the individuals that are working in the company and what their background is. And, you know, they're experts in their field, accomplished in their field, you know, significantly so. And I think that we want to have, you know, two really solid investment platforms to operate in. And I know that a lot of us right now, you know, are gun shy with respect to stepping forward after the whole Novatech, you know, debacle. I know that a lot of people are apprehensive about getting involved in another trading program or potential financial opportunity. This is what I would say to that. You're either in and doing something with the remains of what you have, or you're going to be out and watching whatever resources you have that are fiat completely and totally just dissipate and turn to dust. So you want to really take the time, think about what you're sitting on, and whether or not it behooves you to move forward with something that, of course, holds risk, or to just be motionless and rest assured that whatever you're sitting on is going to vanish. Those are our options: to either get proactive or lose everything. So I'll leave that up to you in terms of decision making. If there are any questions or comments about anything that has been talked about this evening, please feel free to open your mic and ask those questions or make those comments. Vince, hitting it back to you.
All righty. Do see that we have a hand up. Virgilia Collins has a question, I believe. So Virgilia. You have to open up one of your mics.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. You got to shut down one of your devices, though. So we can't hear you right now.
Now can you hear me?
Yes, but again, you have two devices open, which is why you're getting feedback. So you have to shut down the audio on one of them.
I think she just likes that Jimi Hendrix feedback, you know.
Yeah, the cold effects.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Purple haze all in my brain.
You are unmuted.
Okay,
Let's go with Sabrina.
Yes, Sabrina. Sabrina, you can unmute.
Greetings.
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 Thank you both for your information tonight, depth of information. I have a question for something that Vince presented. I noticed that Bitcoin has been coming up as one of the things we should be investing in, BTC.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't kept up with it in the last week or two because I was out of town for a week, but not doing any business, enjoying. But last I checked, it was around 30,000 or close.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, do you still see that as a viable investment? You know, I know when it was $10 or less, somebody did present it to me too, and I didn't do anything about it. But, you know, then I would say, yes, a heck of an investment. What do you think about it now?
Well, if you just look at the performance in the past year, it's up significantly from where it was a year ago.
Right.
And again, it's outperformed the dollar. And I think the thing that you also have to look at is the fact that there is a finite supply of Bitcoin, just like there's a finite supply of silver. But when you look at the dollar, they're creating more and more and more of it. I mean, they just decided that we're not even going to limit how much money we create. We're just going to open up the floodgates. So if I were a savvy investor, I would put more money in Bitcoin than I would in the US dollar. So
No question.
I get that. I get the comparison.
Right.
It's just that, say Bitcoin goes up to $100,000 by the end of the year. So at 30,000, oh, just say if I was able to buy one, we're buying fractions now. That's not a significant, what do you want to say, increase? I mean, it is, but then percentage wise, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So being that we're not buying a full one anyway, we're just buying, are we relying more on I'm not even sure which platform. I know Novatech was one, but are you, I think I kind of asked this before, are you suggesting we go and purchase fractions and set it to the side or rely on certain platforms? How are you suggesting that we do that with BTC being the price that, you know, now I'm going, well, when it was 15, I guess I should have been investing. So am I being clear?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. You know, first of all, the approach that I've taken, and again, I'm not a financial expert, I'm just giving you what I get from the research and stuff that I do. But Bitcoin is one of those coins that you hodl, hold on for dear life. Okay. And with Bitcoin, like any other cryptocurrency, you're going to dollar cost average as well. So if it's at 30 now and it goes up to 100, then as it is rising, you're going to sell and you're going to take profits. It's volatile, just like anything else is volatile in the cryptocurrency world. But just like with equities, you buy it when it's low and you sell it when it's high. But you can't make any money if you don't have any, so you have to buy it. So if you bought it now versus what it was a year ago, will you be kicking yourself because you didn't buy it a year ago? But if it's at 30 now and it goes up to 100 at some point, or 200 or $500,000, and you bought a fraction, you didn't have to buy the whole coin, but you bought something. As it increases in value, you have a potential to take profits. Now, you could buy Bitcoin at 30, sell it at 50, make a profit, and buy some precious metal or any other type of asset. but it gives you options. So again, I'm not in a position to give you any advice. I can only tell you what I would do or what I'm doing. And I purchased Bitcoin. I can move it into a cold storage wallet. When it gets to where I want it to be to sell it, I can sell it at that point. But right now I'm buying Bitcoin. I'm not doing a whole lot of buying. I bought Bitcoin when it was much less than it is right now. So I'm still to the good, because when I bought Bitcoin, it may have been at 17, 18, 20,000. You know, now when I look at my Coinbase account, it shows that I'm in the red as far as Bitcoin is concerned. But again, I'm looking long term. I'm not looking at next month or the month after that. I'm looking down the road. That's why I hold Bitcoin. And again, when we look at those moves like the spot ETF that BlackRock is destined to acquire, and all the other companies that are following suit to acquire Bitcoin, there's going to be a lot of momentum. There's going to be a lot of movement in that market. And they're not buying it to take a loss.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
That was awesome,
You answered my
Vince.
question. Mhm.
Thank you.
That was awesome, Vince. That was awesome, Vincent.
Thank you.
And not to mention, just to piggyback on what he's saying, also we're coming in 2024, which is going to be the halving. So the 4-year halving, basically the projection is that after 6 months to a year, Bitcoin usually jumps higher than its lowest price. So we're in a really amazing time right now, as he stated. And when you look at the writing on the wall, follow the money. But they're doing this because next year's a halving, and it's going to be amazing if you position yourself correctly in the market, as Wayne and Vincent is sharing right now.
Okay, and then I just want to add, I'll thank you again, Wayne. Because I'm set up, it's helping me to get set up pretty nicely with precious metals on both fronts, 401k and otherwise. So that's when things happen the way they say, or it's projected. I'm gonna be sitting hecka pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hello.
many of you will be millionaires by the end of the summer if all of these things manifest in the way that they're being, prophesized. But yeah, for those of you that are into the metals and did not get the video that I sent out to everyone who has made investments into metals, the video I was speaking on by Andy Scheckman, put your name in the chat and I'll make sure to get the video to you.
One last question, Wayne, on the metals. Do you, and maybe I can talk to you about it privately, and if so, just let me know. Would you suggest that anyone turn some of the gold back into silver, or just?
No,
Okay.
no. I would just say focus on acquiring more silver, and you can do that through UPMA, or depending on, one of the things that people can do, they can actually take funds that they have, if they have these type of funds just laying around, and turn them into a silver IRA, and go through Oxford to do that, Oxford Gold. And that's a way of really securing and storing and holding your silver, and just having that level. It's a whole nother level of asset protection. You don't have to have an IRA to roll over. You can actually create one if you have the finances to do that.
All righty, we're gonna move to Rita Fields. Your question or comment, please.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My question is about XRP. Didn't we have a projected date around July 23rd that it might, or we were going to sell it when it went to $23 in July? What's up with that? Is it coming to tuition? Is it later on, or what's going on?
It's coming. Every day there's news about XRP getting ready to break out. You know, personally, I really believe that they're going to allow XRP to break out once they release the CBDCs, because then everybody who goes in to cash their XRP in are going to get CBDCs. I believe that's what they're attempting to do with this stalling tactic, because June was the slated date for XRP to hit $28.40. $28.40. So we're way far away from that. And I think that a lot of it is all centered around the release of these CBDCs, because everyone, if they get the CBDC program operating to full capacity, the way they envision it, anybody who goes in to trade in their cryptocurrencies, XRP, Cardano, whatever it is that they have, they're going to get CBDCs. And CBDCs have an expiration date. You know, so when we look at crypto, the safest crypto really is Bitcoin. You know, that's the safest investment I see personally in the cryptocurrency. Now, if XRP can make this jump to light speed, you know, before the CBDCs run rampant, you know, throughout the world, then that would be awesome. You know, we can take our XRP, you know, trade it in and, you know, turn it into something in terms of another crypto asset, or an asset, as Vince said, in gold and silver.
Well, let me ask you something, Wayne. So if we don't wait till it hits a particular number, will it be wise to, like, if it grew to like $5 or $10 to sell it rather than have it turn into CBDC? Because if we get CBDC, if in turn for XRP, can we buy gold and silver with that? Or
you can't buy, nobody's going to take something in form of a currency that they know is going to expire. No merchant is going to relieve you of your CBDCs that are not real and give you, you know, something that's real. The game that we're playing right now is of immense opportunity, because that is the game we're playing right now with fiat. We can take our fiat dollars, which have no value whatsoever,
and buy stuff,
and buy really good assets.
Mm-hmm.
But we just don't have that much time to do that.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that's going to go along with all the other cryptos that you've advised us to invest in, you know, like last year, you know, Cardano and all those other things? Is the same thing's going to happen with them, that we're going to all fall into exchanging them for a CBDC and not being able to sell them beforehand and turn them into dollars and use them?
Well, the SEC has done a preemptive strike on those cryptocurrencies because they went and labeled those cryptos as securities, which means that takes them out of the game in terms of being used and turned in for any kind of financial investment in the marketplace. I mean, even Robinhood has now delisted like Cardano, Polygon, Algorand, you know, because they have been deemed securities by the SEC.
So all those cryptos that we got is it all for naught? I feel depressed now.
Don't feel depressed. Do you have silver?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't ever feel depressed.
Okay. I mean, but all the investment that we put into those cryptos, now I feel like it's all for naught because it's just going to turn to CBDC and we'll have to.
We don't know that the game changes direction like every couple of months. You know, this is chess, not checkers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so what we have, because I'm in the same boat, you know,
Mm-hmm.
so what we have, you know, it warrants, you know, our patience, you know, to just really sit with it to see exactly what unfolds in the imminent future.
Okay.
You know, because we don't know. I mean, the thing that we have to really be astute about and on is how they're going to try to maneuver, you know, market placement and direction and what that's going to look like from day to day. We don't really know, you know, I mean, but I believe that crypto is going to see the light of day. I definitely believe that.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that your strong cryptos like Polygon, like Algorand, like Cardano, regardless of what they've been labeled as, you know, that's just here in the US. That's it.
Mm.
Yeah, and to add to that, you still have opportunities to take profits with those things right now. You know, the market is so volatile that when you watch it from day to day, you know, you could see a coin like Cardano or another coin, it could go up 3%, 4% in a day. So it's really about how much you have, what you paid for it, and whether or not you can profit from it right now before, you know, the storm hits full force and we see a lot of these currencies go by the wayside. So if you're holding it right now, there's still room for you to profit with those coins before the regulations kick in to the fullest extent. That's what I would say about that. Let's keep it moving. Virgilia, did you work out your audio issues?
Can you hear me?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay. Now I've been reading about Transact and some of the other ones that we've been talking about. But would it be wise to get into it without reading everything, or should you just go on and get into it, you know, while you still have time?
Anything that you get into, it's incumbent upon you to do your due diligence. So I wouldn't say jump in it just because I thought it was a good idea or Wayne thought it was a good idea. That's up to you. But also be aware of the fact that anything that you get involved in does have a certain level of risk, and you have to be prepared to take on that risk, you know.
I'm talking as far as time, you know, time running out. That's what I'm saying.
Well, we can't predict time constraints. You know, it's just like we were expecting Fed now to be in effect today. Well, it's not in effect yet. You know,
Okay.
they're saying that, you know, US dollars are going to be obsolete by July 27th. Well, we'll see. You know,
Okay.
they can tell us all kinds of things. They thought that Agenda 2021 would be fully implemented in 2021 as 2023, and they had to move the date forward to 2030.
Oh, okay.
So we you know, we can't predict, but again, with anything, you just have to do your homework. And if you expect to make something on it, you have to be prepared to make the risk. You have to take the risk. You know, they say with no risk, there's no reward. But you don't get the reward unless you take the risk.
Okay, now let me understand this. The Transact card, you have to bring people in, or is that just how you make
No.
money? By
No, you
bringing
don't.
people in?
You don't have to bring people in. You can just go in as a customer, get the card, get the Z-Bucks, and save money on things that you're purchasing that way. If you want to take it to the next level, you can follow the affiliate program that they have with it.
Okay, well, can one of you, either Wayne, you or Wayne, can y'all help me get into, you know, the different ones like UPA and Union View and Glint and all them?
Yes. Yeah, Glenn is fairly straightforward. If you need a link, either I or Wayne can send you the link for Union View. I don't have the UPMA link yet, but once I get that, I'll be signing up for that as well.
But I mean, how to use it.
Pardon me?
I mean, how to use it.
How?
You know, like step by step, just do that, and you know, the first step, second step, and all that.
You're talking about in terms of how to get into the program?
Yeah, I mean, what you do, let's say if I was to go on the internet and I pull it up, but then where do I go from there as far as getting into it? You know, what's the first step, the second step, the third step, and so on.
Yeah, as I was telling you the other day, at some point, we'll probably do some workshops on that. And what we like to do is have documents that can walk you through those steps. I'm not in Transact Card yet. You know, I'm waiting for someone to send me a link for that. So once I go through that, I'll be in a better position to at least tell you what I know about it. But until I get there, I'm not really in a position to offer you assistance. But we will be looking at, you know, what we can do to get folks up to speed on the things that we're suggesting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Verna, you're next.
Hi, good evening. Thank you and Wayne for that, that invaluable information. Based on the conversation about the Cardano and the XRP, and I've even got, what's it called, Shiba Inu holding. So with all those things, you could, as a strategy, take all those things, cash them out, and purchase Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what I was thinking about. The lady that was speaking about being a little sad that those things weren't moving, you know, but that's something that could be done with those. Also, I'm happy to say that I did start my UPMA program, and I did earn some income on that one. So the Union View investments, I earned some income on that one as well. So I didn't do a lot. I wanted to see how they work, and I'm pleased with what's happening so far. So I just wanted to, you know, let you all know that I did make a move.
All right. Sounds good. And it sounds kind of like where I am. You know, I didn't put a lot in, but that 5% is better than 3%, and it got my gears turning. So you know what I did next, Verna. I went to the calculator website.
Oh, yeah, that's something
Yeah,
good. Yeah, we can look at the
look at
calculator.
the calculator.
Okay, and then I did have some, I'm not sure what amount. I did have someone else that came in with my union with the union view. I'm not sure what that percentage is that it pays out. Do you know offhand?
Yeah, I think it's 5%. I'm not sure. I think I saw something to that effect, but it's on the website. They give you that information.
Okay. And okay, that's all I have for
Okay.
right now. But thank you all again for all you do.
All right. You're welcome. So Brother Wayne, there were quite a few folks in the chat who dropped their email addresses for things that they want you to send. So if you want, you can save the chat file to your computer and just grab those. I know Gary Mack wanted to get the precious metal video. Suchas Sura is looking for the video. And let's see, Diane is also looking for it. Virgilia is looking for the video. Beatrice is looking for the video. Chima Ott looking for the video. So all of those folks are in the chat with their email addresses. If you need me to, I can actually send you the chat file. I'm looking through the participants and I don't see Wayne on here. So perhaps he got disconnected, but I will make sure to send that chat information to him. So he will have those email addresses and then you can follow up with him on your requests. Are there any other questions or comments before we conclude the meeting?
Hi, Wayne. This is Diane. How are you? I'm calling
good.
you to Vince.
Yeah, Wayne's not here.
Okay. My comment was, I was listening as the lady said that we're not getting what we should be out of XRP yet, but why would you, somebody made a comment as to we could take it out and buy Bitcoin, but why would you take it out when it's not giving you the value as it should? And then you take it out and you lose, and then you hurt your head and start to bawl. So it's best to wait, I say, and see how it goes before you start pulling things out. And then, oops, it goes up and you lose, and then you start to cry.
No, I felt it had to be up. You would have to have made something in order to take it out. I wouldn't take it out and lose. I would make sure that I have earned something on it before I would take it out.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Okay, any other comments or questions? All right, hearing none, we'll move to our next meeting, which will be next Sunday. And as always, we'll try to bring you some impactful information, some new information, some updates. We really didn't get too deep into Union View this evening, but I want to present more on that program because I think it's a good fit for this group. And with that, I will just say peace, progress, and prosperity to everyone. I'm going to leave the meeting open just for a few more moments. So the folks who want to drop their emails into the chat can do that. But at this point, I'm going to stop the recording and